Hello everybody, welcome to this weekly astrology video for the week of April 4th. So this week is a crazy week with this new moon, and I think actually this new moon is going to be a pretty big deal, so I'm only going to actually focus on this new moon. I think it's probably the most important thing that'll happen for like quite some time actually. A lot of turning points for a lot of people, and I think actually a lot of you maybe will even look back on this new moon here, April 7th, as like a time where your life completely changed. We're finally like breaking out out of a lot of old things, especially with this new moon. So let's just jump right into this new moon and look at what's going on. I have the chart up for April 7th, and I'm just basically, like I said, I'm only going to focus on this new moon. I think the energies, we're already seeing these energies affecting us already, even, just like moving around here, around the chart real quick as well. We have things like the sun conjuncting Uranus, which is amazing for technology and things like that. And we already saw like Tesla this last week had an amazing launch of their new car. So, already like these things are happening. But there's a huge emphasis, I think, with this new moon and Saturn. Saturn's in retrograde, so we're going back over a lot of old things. I think we're going to be breaking out of a lot of these like funky things that have been happening for the past 8 years. For a lot of people, it should be rather exciting as well. So I think there's definitely an element of things coming back this week as well, especially because the sun and the moon are conjunct with this new moon here, and I think that conjunction is pretty powerful because the sun and the moon are also making a lot of very similar placements to a few of the planets, which we're also going to cover. I think this is going to lead to like a big ending of old cycles and starting of new cycles that are hopefully much more positive. I think the astrology in general is much more structured than it has been probably in quite some time. A lot of structure, mostly around love and money, depending on, I think, where a lot of, like, depending on where you are in the chart, depending on what sign you are and what else is going on, but also a lot of stuff around spirituality as well. So it looks like things are just stabilizing in general. I think there's also a big emphasis because of this Saturn retrograde. Saturn is the planet of like perfection, is a perfect planet. So making sure that everything you're doing, if you're starting any plans, thinking about starting plans this week, I think everything needs to be like absolutely perfect. Make sure there aren't any mistakes, especially if you're like launching something new this week or planning something new. Make sure you have all the details as well. So what I'd like to focus on, like I said, is the sun and the moon, since the sun and the moon are conjunct. And the way I look at this is, and maybe not a lot of other astrologers do, but I look at the moon as who you are, and the moon is who we truly are. It's our emotions, which kind of leads to our personality. I think astrologers would say that the sun is who you are, because that's what they say, our sun sign is kind of who we are and how we project ourselves in the world. But really, I think the moon is actually who we are, and the sun is more who we're trying to become. So I think with age, we kind of step into more of our sun sign placements in a lot of ways. That's usually what we're kind of like working towards. But I bet if you did some research on your moon, you might actually find out that you do kind of embrace a lot more of your moon traits in a lot of ways. So moving forward, at least for this week, I would say especially, there's definitely an emphasis on this, on you being more like your moon and then trying to be more like your sun. And so let's get into it. As I said, we have the sun and moon are going to be conjunct in Aries. It's all about pushing forward in really bold ways. Aries is all about pushing forward, being bold, being aggressive, making things happen that you want to happen in your life in a lot of ways, but in a structured way as well. I can't emphasize the structure enough. Hopefully I don't say it like 900 times. I think like if you watch a lot of my videos, you could probably create a drinking game out of most of them. But, hopefully I don't say structure too many times in this video, but just know that needs to be structure, very important. I think the sun and the moon are conjunct here. It can make us very moody as well. So just watch your moods. It can one way or the other. Don't get too angry or upset, or don't get too happy. I guess even. Can we get too happy? Maybe not. So go more the positive way. Be ambitious. This is definitely a great, very ambitious time as well. This is very general too. I think for everybody this is going to be different. I think this is going to be affecting different areas. I would say, look at where you've been struggling in your life over the past 8 years. If that's love, then probably a lot of this is going to be more love for you. If it's money, probably money. If it's everything, well, maybe everything could be, kind of happening here. It's a very exciting time as well, and it's also great for building new habits. If I had to pick one thing that sun and moon, when they're conjunct, a great thing to do under these two here is to build new habits and look at building new habits. A lot of you could have already started building new habits, like since, I would say, uh, late July of last year, and you know these could be like exercise habits, workout habits, just new ways of being, new daily routines, things like that. All of that probably July of last year is when this would have started. But again, those would have been for those of you that kind of got an early start. Some of you might just be starting new habits or looking into how you can start some of these new habits. Next, we have the Sun is also going to be trining Mars, and I want to again stress, and I'm really focusing on the Moon here on this new moon, but the moon and the sun are so close together that I think that the energies are you know very important kind of like together here. So the sun is trining Mars. It's all about knowing how to use your energy and being very resourceful, looking at where you can use your energy. I think you know I see a lot of people really deciding where they're going to just use their energy, getting smarter with how they work, getting smarter with the things they do. Maybe you have a business and you normally do 20 things, but now you're like, you know what, I only need to really do one thing, and it's like you're really focusing in on just doing some very, very simple things and not spreading your energies too far. It's all about using a lot of energy for something very small, getting a much bigger impact. Sun trine Mars. It's also great for competition. Any of you in competitions this week, very good. We could see a lot of competition on a global scale as well. Even outside, I know there's a huge emphasis, of course, on the political arena right now, but we could see competition in other areas. Also, very ambitious kind of placement here. You can achieve a lot as well. So a very high achieving type of placement. And it makes us feel more independent. I wouldn't be surprised if like even a lot of you might be moving away from relationships and things like that. Sometimes Sun trine Mars can make us want to be a little bit more independent and want to do things by ourselves and not have to rely on somebody else. Or this placement can also strengthen your relationship as well, kind of like a paradox there, because it can make you realize that you are independent in your relationship, and that's fine, and you know things will just work out. Next, we have the sun and the moon are going to be trining Saturn, both of them. Remember, the moon is who you are, so we're going to start with moon trine Saturn, who you are right now. This is emotional maturity, you know, being very strong emotionally and understanding your emotions, being very compassionate and caring under this placement as well. It's also about creating the balance between your like intuition, the spiritual world, and the real world, and figuring out that balance. I think I talked about this maybe a couple weeks ago in the astrology video that this moon trine Saturn is very much about the real world and the spiritual world, and finding a balance in between those two places. It's also a lot about developing common sense. I think people are starting to develop a lot more common sense as in general in life. But I would say maybe the struggle here with the moon is that let's see, it's really about holding back too much. So a lot of you could be holding back too much and not putting yourself forward enough. But the good news is we have the sun. Like I said, the moon is who we are, the sun is who we are trying to be right now. And I think that we are all reaching towards that sun with this new moon here, and we are becoming the sun at the moment. So the sun right now, sun trining Saturn, makes us very disciplined, very mature, and practical. It makes us very practical, makes us actually even look at things a little bit with just better eyes. Sometimes the moon, I think, with the moon trine Saturn, we can look at things and we can get way too excited about new projects, and we can, make them much bigger in our head, or we can get excited about even like new people, new relationships, and make them out to be much better than they actually are. But with the sun trining Saturn here, I think there's a little bit of truth coming in off of that moon, and us seeing things for how they really are. It also makes us more responsible. With moon trine Saturn, maybe a little bit irresponsible, but when the sun comes in, we're a little bit more responsible. And this is also a great placement for figuring out what our purpose is in life. Again, I think this is a huge new moon, probably going to be more important than, I don't know, maybe it's a bold statement on my part, but pretty much the biggest one of the year, maybe one of the most important as far as these kind of life changes go. And I'll say that. We have the moon the sun and the moon are also conjuncting Uranus. So both the sun and the moon are going to be conjuncting Uranus. The moon is, again, who we are. So moon conjuncting Uranus, who we are right now. I think everybody's feeling a little bit restless. I definitely hear from you guys every single week, and I think this restless energy is carrying on. It can make us feel a little erratic and not sure of what we want to do, not sure of direction and things like that. And this is that hamster wheel energy. I've been talking about how we've been pretty much doing the same thing day in, day out, having the same experiences for about 8 years now. Nothing's really changed. I mean, this is monotony at its finest right here. The moon conjunct Uranus is monotony in a lot of ways, and very difficult to deal with. But it makes us very highly intuitive, even with moments of success. I would say this is probably the most frustrating part about the moon conjuncting Uranus here, is that, it's like maybe even over the past 8 years, nothing's really been going your way, nothing's really been happening, but maybe you've had like little moments where you have been successful. So it's like these ups and then downs. And then I would say the downs are probably a little bit longer than the ups, and that makes it very difficult. And it's all about like just tasting success, and really needing to push through things. I mean, it is kind of a placement of needing to be relentless and not giving up, but it's also a radical placement as well. I think this makes us radical. Again, I know I talk about this every week, and I don't want to get too political in these videos, of course, but if you look at things on a global scale, it's like everything is radical. There's like just two extreme sides to everything, and it just seems like, I don't know, maybe it's because of social media and everything, but it just seems so much bigger, seems so much stronger, where they're just like two crazy sides basically going at it. And then you have a lot of people who just don't want any part of it. So that's again who we are, even on a global scale. Luckily, we have the sun coming in here, and this is who we will and are trying to become, the sun conjuncting Uranus. This makes life a lot more exciting. Could see a lot more unexpected moments, a lot more excitement in your life, breaking away from monotony. This is a great time for technology. Already talked about this. Tesla, I think this week we'll probably see more, and I'd say going throughout the rest of the month, you could see even more exciting advancements and things like that coming out around technology. Even last week, again, we also had the Oculus Rift coming out from Facebook, so a lot of technology coming forward now, and I think that'll just grow from here on out. You'll probably see a lot more technological things around this. On a personal level, this makes us much more magnetic, have much more magnetic personality. If you are in if you are in public, you're dealing with people, it's going to be a great time for you right here. Also able to recover from failures a lot easier, I would say. Not so difficult, not so much putting ourselves down. I think the next thing we're going to talk about in just a second is the sun and the moon are both squaring Pluto, and I think that this has made us have some thinner skin moments where we take things on too much. But I think luckily this right here, the sun conjuncting Uranus kind of solves a lot of those issues for us. It's also great for making decisions. I think there's been a lot of confusion. Like I said, a lot of you, write me notes and things like that and talk all about the confusion and not able to make decisions and trying to make up your mind. And I think this is going to be great for that. It also makes us more humanitarian, more structured, again with the structure coming in here, and it can even make our lives more efficient. We kind of talked about this already with the other placement here with the Sun trine Mars, making better use of our energy, just thinking about using our energy before we actually use it. The only danger I see here with the Sun conjuncting Mars is becoming a little bit stubborn and closed-minded and not being open enough. So make sure you're staying open to new ideas. So again, you could have a lot of excitement because you could be doing something new. And again, I know this is very general, but it's true for all of you are going to be different things. Some of you might be business, love, spirituality, whatever it is. But you might be excited about something new, but also stay open. Again, I think what the problem here with this sun and the moon together is that while we're trying to move towards that sun, like I said, we're trying to become the sun. I think the danger is we could still go radical and still be very radical, and we need to move away from that. We need to be more open-minded. We need to be in places where we enjoy whatever it is that we're doing, but we're also accepting of other ideas, because that we have gotten away from that very, very deeply. Next, we have the sun and the moon are both squaring Pluto. Already talked about this a little bit. I think the moon here, again, moon, who you are right now. I think recently, probably, maybe even thinking a lot about your childhood. I think the moon squaring Pluto can bring up a lot about our childhood, even old guilts that we have, being guilty about things that we did when we were children, totally ridiculous. It makes us very sensitive to what other people say to us as well, gives us a thinner skin, and it also, we can experience like this very much moon and Pluto, Scorpio and death and everything like that. So it can be this very much these rebirth cycles constantly where we're experiencing death and rebirth. It's interesting because I know that these are like shorter term. I know the moon and the sun move very quickly, but for some reason, again, maybe just intuitively, I feel like that this is like kind of the culmination of the past 8 years, everything coming together, and finally experiencing more of an ending to those things. So I think it's a very important week for a lot of people, as I said. So the sun square Pluto here. It's about trying to take control of our lives. Definitely, maybe even becoming more metaphysical, more resourceful as well. I think resources are going to be very important over the next few weeks. Looking at your resources, also letting go of attachments. And again, I think that really the main message here with letting go of attachments is not becoming too radical when in your beliefs, whatever that may be. Next, moving away from the sun and the moon, we have Jupiter squaring Saturn. Saturn, again, very important here. There's a lot going on with Saturn. Saturn is retrograde. I think there's a lot coming back. Jupiter square Saturn, I would not gamble during this time. Definitely not. Definitely not until this moves on, which will be a while. So I wouldn't gamble right now. And it's definitely all about working hard to make things happen, especially things that you've already been dealing with. Like if something comes back around that you were working on in the past and that you get another opportunity to take that on right now, it's a great time to work really, really hard to make it work this time around. So this could be anything. Could be a business, could be a relationship, could be spirituality, could be anything. Like I said, now is the time to make it happen. I'm not going to lie, you're definitely going to have to work hard, but, it'll really move you far, far ahead. And then finally, with this new moon and everything going on here, we have Saturn trine Uranus, which is all about plans. I think this has a lot to do with our plans, where we're planning, where we're going, what we're looking to go, and developing new disciplines as well. Maybe we've been a little bit undisciplined over the past, I would just say 3 years. Maybe we've fallen away from some of the disciplines that we used to have, and I think now it's time to build those things up and get a little bit more serious about all of that. So it's going to be one heck of a week. Definitely, stay open, I would say, to things and don't be radical. I would guess that would be my message. So thank you for watching and enjoy the week.